First off, let me thank you very much for taking the time out of your schedule to sit down here and answer these questions with me.
Yes, absolutely. It's good to be here. Thanks for asking me to be on the show.
Let me let you introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, what you do, and why you're so awesome.
Well, my name is Shannon Beshears, and I'm a stunt performer. I am awesome because I've put a lot of training in and a lot of time. So yeah, that's how he found me, was stunt performing on Stargirl, and that was a really fun show to be a part of. Some really incredible stunt performers on that team. So
that's like, as we were talking a little bit before, that's how I found you, was through the TV show Stargirl, which is incredible. And if you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. How did you get involved with that?
Let's see. So that stunt coordinator, his name is Walter Garcia, and he actually directed that episode as well. On Stargirl, there were a lot of different episodes with different directors. And so we actually had our stunt coordinator directing that episode, which is actually really, really cool for other stunt performers to hear that you can do that. As long as you put a lot of time behind the camera and figure all that stuff out.
That's actually really interesting. You kind of see that a lot nowadays, a lot of stunt performers getting behind the camera. And I think that brings a really good element to the shot because they know exactly what something is supposed to look like.
Yes, exactly. When it comes to filming action, I feel like unless you study action, a lot of directors aren't super sure how to actually film it. And so as a stunt performer, when you know, oh, that angle looks really great here because it makes the leg look so much longer and it really sells the kick and just things like that. A lot of stunt performers, they'll go from like stunt coordinator to second unit director. And that's going to be the person who directs all the action, to sometimes director. And it just kind of depends on how far the stunt person wants to go. Because not everybody wants to be a director, not all the stunt performers. And so it just kind of depends on where you want to cap yourself.
And how long have you been a stunt performer?
I would say consistently about a year. And it started off with Stargirl, which is really cool. And then I stunt doubled on Stranger Things, which is really awesome, as well as Cobra Kai, and then a little bit on Black Adam as well. So it's been a hell of a year, and like a lot of like really random productions in between, but those things haven't come out yet. So yeah, so like it's not really on like my Instagram, but it's like on my IMDb. But so fun random facts about other things I've been a part of. But I started in Oklahoma on a movie called Camp Coldbrook that had Chad Michael-Murray, which was kind of fun. And I did that in like 2017, I think. And so that's when I first got started into film. But I've been like a dancer, stunt performer, kind of flip-flopping for a while now. So it's like my first year of really buckling down and just doing stunts.
You've actually accomplished a lot within that short amount of time, which is really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I think my genetics, because I'm like a tiny human, and they just need more stunt. Like there are people who need stunt doubles that are also tiny, so I'm like a little niche, which is nice.
Yeah. And when you say tiny, how tall are you?
Oh, like 5'4", 110 pounds. And that's not like super tiny, but a lot of stunt women are just, they're super strong and they're just like, bigger or smaller. I know a bunch of different stunt women of all different shapes and sizes.
That side of like of the industry is that, like I said, there was just so much variety in stunt work. So it's always really interesting to see.
Yes, especially coming back home to Iowa. Some people are like, I've only heard of stunt man. Are you sure you do this? Like you're tinier. I thought you'd be bigger and a lot of stuff like that. But it's kind of funny because I worked with the girl who stunt doubled Stargirl. Well, there were a few actually, but one of them, her name is Christina Basquette, and she's stunt doubled for Arya Stark. And so she's a little bit smaller, and so it's just kind of funny because it's like you need stunt doubles of all different shapes and sizes. And I remember being like, wait, Arya Stark is like, she's smaller, and so it's cool to meet her stunt double who's just super badass and also,
And you mentioned that you've done work that you doubled in Stranger Things. How was that?
It was really awesome. It was really cool, especially I've watched some of the show. And then I've caught up now. But I stunt doubled for Natalia, which is awesome. Now she's also had like a lot more, she's had a lot of different stunt doubles. It's kind of like who's available, what's happening, kind of thing. So yeah. And now they're actually in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So Stranger Things isn't in Georgia anymore.
Oh.
But yeah. So she also has a lot of other stunt doubles, but Stranger Things was really cool. You know, seeing some of the cast and being able to be a part of certain scenes with the majority of the cast. I had some really rare circumstances where Natalia had to go do like other things, and I had to go do other like pick up shots with the main cast and me. So it was really cool and a little surreal to be like, I've seen your face on the television. I'm next to you and you're really nice to me. And that's the cool thing too, is that the cast was incredible.
I've seen a lot of like your reels and stuff, and you have a lot of like really cool fight choreography in there. What kind of like fight training have you had?
Let's see. So when it comes to fight training, a lot of different stuff. Like kind of sprinkled in. I would say that the biggest base is kind of like Taekwondo style. And then I've taken like, it's been like Taekwondo, a little bit of Wushu, just a smidge of Kung Fu, a little bit of Muay Thai, like a bunch of just different types kind of sewn in there. And then just a lot of like fight training with my friends in my garage, honestly. A lot of boxing, I would say, more boxing than Taekwondo really. And a lot of my friends holding paddles and going, do a hook kick. Now spinning hook.
The profession of like a stunt performer can be pretty dangerous. Have you ever had any kind of a serious or near serious injury?
No, I started off doing like, so I first got introduced to stunts when I was a dancer in a musical called Texas the Musical, and we were doing full body burns. And so I'd done like Game of Thrones style, like where you're completely on fire. And there was one where I didn't clear the gel out of my face enough. And so I ended up like burning my lip, like scorching off my eyelashes and like burning a little bit of my nose. That was probably really the only time that I've been injured. I mean, I bruised my heel pretty bad on like the little bike fall. If you saw my reel, I was just practicing it. I didn't bruise it on like that take, but I was just like practicing it. And then like sometimes your heel just goes into the ground and the ground's concrete. But otherwise, I've been pretty safe. I mean, there are definitely times when I thought it wasn't going to go well, and I thought that some of the wire gags or some of whatever I was doing was going to end up putting me in the hospital, and it didn't, because we have an incredible rigging team behind me. You know, I've been really lucky with a lot of the people that I've worked with. They've been super safe. We've rehearsed a lot of things. So that's really what it comes down to, is like your team, especially when it comes to a lot of the wire work, which is a little bit more of what I've done. So when you see people going like flying and wah, wah, it's like a bunch of just like wires. Depends if the person's really flippy, maybe they're just flipping, but yeah. So the rigging team has kept me really safe. The rigging team is like the people who do all the wires. They like figure it out, you test it, and then they make sure that you're safe, which is really awesome.
Before you kind of go into a stunt, do you have any kind of like pre-game rituals, or are you more comfortable enough to where it's like you just go into it?
It definitely depends. Sometimes, and I'm not going to give too much away, but there was this one gag on Stranger Things that I had to do pretty much all day. And so I was just kind of like having this really chill music in my head, because it's not like you can like psych yourself up for it and be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, you're done. It's like all day doing it. And so it's like also just kind of managing your adrenaline, I would say. And so if you're going to do something all day, at least for me, what was nice was having like a really chill song in my head and me just being like, okay, it's all fine, you know. But some of the gags that I've been really nervous about, I listened to the song. Do you know who Cynthia Yerbo is? And I'm probably saying her last name wrong. She's like a Broadway star. She's absolutely incredible. And so she was Harriet Tubman in the movie Harriet. And so I listened to Stand Up from that album, because I don't know, it just puts me in a really like solemn place, and it's also just a really great song. So yeah, so that's kind of my pregame ritual. And it also depends on what I'm going to do that day. Sometimes I will warm up myself in my garage, doing like shoulder rolls, dive rolls. Those keep you really safe as a stunt performer. Just like basics, just like making sure that like you're tucking your head, practicing all of your recs and warming up your reactions, stretching. So I have quite a ritual. But it's kept me safe so far, so that's good.
Do you ever get like any worried look like whenever they see you perform on something?
I've been on set of Stargirl, and there was this one gag where they pretty much just like roll me into the wall like a few times, and the key grip, like I remember him coming out and just staring at me like, how are you alive? What are you doing? Like, what the heck? Because like the way that the wire worked was the wire just kind of set me into the wall, and the way that the wall was, it would like shake and the set would shake, and it's just like me, like the tiny human, and then like shaking the set, and they're like, are you made of titanium? Are you okay? What's happening? So I've gotten really concerned looks from some people on set but then they see that I'm literally fine, and they're like, okie dokie.
Going back to your experience with the body burn, was that something that you kind of were asked to do, or is that something that you saw and were like, I want to do that?
For that show, it was kind of like, hey guys, we have this body burn in this musical. Who wants to do it? And I was like, I do. so it was like a volunteer thing, which is interesting because like SAG rate, body burns, you can get paid pretty well, but I did it for free. But also I was able to learn for free, and a lot of people, that experience takes money, you know, so I was able to learn for free, which was nice. And it was just a random stumble upon kind of thing, which was kind of nice. I realized that I was able to get kind of like in my zen in the body burn. Some people's brains, when they do body burns, it's like the fight or flight kind of reflexes, and like some people go into like a little bit of rat brain, but I realized I didn't do that, and that I got into my zen, and it was really cool. And so I was like, what are stunts? Could I actually do that? Would that be actually feasible for me? And then the next year I had auditioned for a theme park as a dancer, and they had like this gunfight show, which they only really had like guys do because it was like a cowboy show. And because I had the full body burns, they were like, oh, actually, maybe we will have you. So because of the body burns, I was actually able to get more into stunts because people actually took me a little seriously, which was nice. Mm-hmm. So it fueled pretty much everything.
That's good.
Yeah.
In a world where like women can literally do anything and everything, did you ever feel disheartened by any kind of like, maybe like you went into an audition or something, and like you said, they only wanted to hire men and stuff. Like, did you get a lot of that in the beginning? Yeah, like the body burns, you have to have like these suits, and because typically like bigger people, like just men, you know, and different stuff will do those. The suits were actually too big for me, so they're like, are you comfortable burning in like a suit that's too big? And I was like, yeah. As long as it's safe. And they're like, oh yeah, it's safe. And it is really easy to get kind of disheartened, especially just like the way that I'm treated sometimes and condescended, honestly, until people see like what I'm capable of. Because I'm not a super like showy person. I mean, sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm not, you know? And so I don't really want to just go up to somebody and like immediately start bragging, you know? And so sometimes like, especially being a tiny female I'm pretty flamboyant and goofy. Like I don't really get taken seriously very often. And so that will lead to, I kind of get condescended in different areas. And I think that's partly being female, partly being smaller, partly I'm a goofball, and maybe sometimes I gotta like figure out how to, you know, be a little bit more tight, but I don't know. Otherwise, being a female in stunts, not very many females know that it's actually a route that we can go. And so with that, like I'm able to kind of get into a niche, and I feel like there are overall less women pursuing stunts. And so even though at the beginning it was definitely hard to break through, once you break through that initial barrier, you're like, oh, this is actually nicer now. Because I do see a lot of my male friends not able to get as many opportunities as me because there's just less of me.
But I think that that's going to change when a lot more women are seeing a lot more female action scenes and just more awareness of like, you know, female stunt performers. Now I say that, and I don't really know what other female stunt performers have experienced, because maybe people knew about this all along. I never did, but I'm also like from Iowa, where being a dancer was outlandish. And so being a stunt performer is crazy. So
what was that like growing up in Iowa?
It was pretty good. So also, I'm going to clarify a little bit. So I'm from the section of Illinois, Iowa, that's like right next to each other. And so I grew up in like the really rural area of Illinois and then moved to Iowa. And so it's like this like little section, but it's called Taylor Ridge, Illinois. Ooh. But I mean, it was definitely weird when it came to my aspirations. People would be like, who do you think you are if you actually think you can do that? You know, kind of like, wow, you must have a really big head if you actually think that you can pursue your dreams. And I'm glad I did anyway. I had really supportive parents, which I think was really awesome. So I wanted to dance, and I remember the guy that I was dating in high school, I was telling his family that I wanted to dance and maybe be on a cruise line and like, you know, tour the world. And they actually laughed at me in my face. And that's like what I got from everyone. And I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. And so then my first contract out of college was on a cruise line, Disney Cruise Line. So it was like, I got to do the cruise life, and, you know, but then, yeah, and I think that if I would have said that I wanted to be a stunt double or a stunt performer in any capacity, like they would have put me in a straitjacket and would have been like, you're actually insane. So, but yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. Then also, sorry, this is a really funny story. So the class size was so small that there was one day when the teacher like went around and was like, everybody in the class, go ahead and say like where you're going to go to college, if you're going to go to college, and like what you're going to do. And so I was like, I'm going to go to Oklahoma City University and be a dance performance major. And the guy in front of me turned around and was like, you have to go to college to be a stripper? Like literally there was no other form of dance besides stripping that people understood. And so it was also just like facing a lot of that was interesting. So I got a lot of that too. Like, oh, you want to be a dancer? You mean stripper? No, I really don't. I really don't. Nothing against like strippers, but I just didn't want to be one.
Yeah, that's actually really great that you've been able to do all of these things, because like you said, people may look at you and think you're not very intimidating, but like from the stunts that I've seen you perform, like you're an absolute badass.
Thank you.
And now that's what I found so compelling when like I said, when I watched the show, and I was like, who is doing these stunts, because they're incredible. And then, you know, I found you through social media and kind of been following you and seeing all your other work.
Thank you. And it's just starting, which is the cool part.
All the stuff you told me that you've worked on and the stuff that I've seen, I would have thought that you've been doing this for a lot longer.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're going to be doing a lot greater stuff from here.
I hope so. And for that, it's mostly like to keep training, keep up all of my fight choreography. And I have a really cool group of like stunt performer friends that and we keep pushing each other, which is really cool.
I'll definitely continue to be a fan.
Oh, thank you. I have a fan. Oh my God. Crazy. But that's awesome. Thank you.
Speaking of like a film and stuff, that's kind of what I mostly discuss on a lot of my live streams and stuff that I do. Do you happen to have like a certain favorite film genre or a favorite film?
Let's see. So my favorite film is probably like around Hot Fuzz. I really like Hot Fuzz. It's just like goofy, funny, and just weird. And I love it. I like Serenity as well. It's like the older sci-fi. And so she was a dancer, like River was a dancer, and then she just fought, which was really cool. And so that was really inspiring. And the assistant coordinator was actually and still is the stunt coordinator for Stranger Things. So I got to like grow up and watch that and like be in love with that fight scene, and then work for somebody who had actually like created it and helped create all the process. And so that was cool.
Yeah, I've actually noticed that in doing research about the female stunt performers, a lot of them have a background in dancing. Do you think that really helps out, especially like with the movements?
Yeah, it'll be like dance or gymnastics. The people who do gymnastics, I'm just like flabbergasted. They are definitely like the power players, and it's really cool. Now, when it comes to dance, it's like the body mechanics and like the body awareness is sometimes really great. Sometimes dancers are also clumsy, and I'm mostly talking about myself. So maybe that's how I got good at falling. I don't know. But we also have like the facility when it comes to flexibility and body awareness to translate that into fighting.
Going back to what you mentioned, one of your favorite movies being Hot Fuzz. I love that film has it's comedic, but a lot of the stunt work and like fight choreography in those movies, especially like Hot Fuzz and even say The World's End, is actually very well done.
It really is. And I really like some culty undertones, you know, for the greater good and stuff like that. Oh, there's a part that I can't watch in Hot Fuzz. It's the one where like the guy.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean. They really do a good job of mixing, CGI and then practical work. And in your line of work, obviously a lot of the stunts that you do are practically done, and some of them might be mixed with CGI. How do you personally feel about, a lot of stunts being 100% CGI versus something that like an actual person could do?
Yeah, so that's interesting because there are some portions of that where it is just safer, but then it's also like it takes out the practicality and like some of the fun parts, but then sometimes it's safety. And so it honestly depends on like the gag. So there was in Stargirl when and this was for the finale. Did you see the finale or did you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So when like we get thrown like Shiv and Stargirl, when they get thrown out of the window, it's like the two-story window, and then they hit Shiv hits the pole and then Stargirl hits the ground. That we had actually done from like the second story down, but then on the shot you just see like the little bitty a bit, and it's like we did the entire thing. But you see in like it cuts out, and then it's just like the little like CGI doubles going, oh, and it's like, oh, so we didn't have to go all the way up, but we did. And then sometimes it's like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And sometimes you can just do motion capture and they can put you in instead, and you can be in a little bit of a safer environment. But so I would say it depends.
I myself growing up in a time where CGI didn't kind of rule everything in terms of like action movies and stuff like that. I'm just a huge fan of practical effects because I just personally think it looks better. And that's one of the things like I'm going to keep like gushing over your work in Stargirl because I think it's amazing. That's what I really loved about that show when I first started watching, because I'm very picky about TV shows, especially TV shows about, superheroes and comic book stuff. I'm very picky on those. But when I saw it, I was like, I really, really like the fact that they're doing a lot of practical stunt work, because it looks really good, as opposed to just full CGI models.
It's definitely known as one of the harder shows as a stunt performer because it is a lot of wire work. And it's just a little insane. Now we like the rigging team, like I said, is super safe and it's great. But there was a stunt coordinator. We had a girl named Shai DeBrew as Stargirl, and she was testing out some wire gags. And she was going to work for JJ Perry, who's a different stunt coordinator. And he literally called her stunt coordinator, like, do not hurt her, because he knows it's a really crazy show. And so it's just known for all of the practicality and for the craziness. And just based off of what some of my friends have said about like the next upcoming season, like it's gonna be awesome. So like buckle up for the next season. It's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. I already know for a fact it's going to be awesome. That's a fun question here. Is there any like one stunt that you've seen from a movie that you think is just, like is your favorite? Do you have like a favorite stunt that you've ever seen in a movie?
I would say reeling back to the fight scene in Serenity where she's like, Miranda, and then she just goes a little crazy. So she goes pretty crazy and just like slays everybody in the bar. I would say that that's one of my favorite. It's not just one stunt, it's a compilation of a lot, but I would say that that's my favorite.
Yeah, and when you see things like that, does that like kind of pump you up and like propel you to want to be better?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I'm like, yes, it's time to train. Let's go.
You've actually done some work with Native American communities, which as a Native American myself, I commend you and I appreciate very much. How did you get involved with that?
Can I ask what tribe you're in really quick?
I am in, my tribe's called Yaqui.
Yaki, that's awesome. My family like volunteered with this organization called Remember, and it's in the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And so I had just formed a lot of connections because I volunteered there a few times. Then I also worked for the organization called Remember, and there was this lady who lives on the res, and she was like, hey, I want to start a dance school here, but I just really don't have the resources, and I heard that you're a dancer. Do you want to do something together? And I was like, I've always wanted to do something. When it comes to dance, like I feel like dance has given me so much when it comes to my mental health. It's really helped me. And so I was like, of course I want to give back. And so we were able to create all of that. And so I went to school for dance. I graduated with like a dance performance major. So I'm able to, through like that education, we started like a dance studio, but we wanted to be an art studio, especially with a lot of the trauma that goes on the res. Like a lot of the children, they don't really want to speak. They don't really want to like express themselves so fully. Like dance takes a lot of vulnerability to move in front of people like that, especially if people are really shy. We also have like other art programs and stuff like that. But I'd say I got involved and invested just by like meeting the people on the reservations and becoming friends, and just really, it's just really terrible what history has done. It just makes me really mad. And with my privilege, I want to give back, so I'm able to do that, which is cool. We actually have, we're still decently new, like as an organization. So we have a big grant that we are looking at, and we have like an interview for on Wednesday, and it's like a 2-year grant. And it's also like you get to propose your budget, and that could be really awesome.
Some great work you're doing.
Thank you. I'm stoked. It's been pretty cool.
Growing up in the same kind of communities and stuff, you do face a lot of those hardships, and you do face a lot of those like insecurities of wanting to do something, but believing that you probably won't be able to do those things.
Absolutely. And just I feel like sometimes the hope is kind of lost, and that's why like the suicide is absolutely outlandish on the res and other reservations, and the historical trauma. It's just so oppressing that any type of hope that you can give, like dance was so much hope for me. And so I want to give that. If
I would have listened to a lot of people when I was younger, I never would be doing this as well. Talking to other people, meeting different people about my passion and love for movies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot to reach out, especially when you've been shot down so often. And so like, thanks for reaching out. Keep reaching out. It's really awesome to see. So what are some of your favorite movies?
Me, my favorite movie of all time, and it has never changed since I was about 8 years old, is The Godfather.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. I recently did an interview with a writer, director, producer. We were talking for a while just about The Godfather.
I haven't seen The Godfather. I've heard some of the music. Mm-hmm. And so the music is really awesome.
It's considered like one of the greatest movies of all time, yet I've never really met many people that have seen it.
That's so tragic.
Yeah, because to me, like it's one of those movies too that really impacted me as a child. Even as a kid, I was like 7 or 8 years old. Probably shouldn't have been watching it at that age, but but I'm kind of glad I did, because ever since I first saw it, like I knew there was something very special about it, and it's also something that, like I said, it's never changed. It's still my favorite movie to this day, and it also got me into the technical side. What I love most about the technical side of filmmaking. Most people go into a movie and they just watch, but they don't think about the technical aspects of it, which is why, I look up, who lit this scene. I look up cinematographers. I look up stunt performers like yourself because I know that there's a huge team behind all of these films that I love. And I always want to, at least give some kind of appreciation to that.
Nice. And that's the thing, is that it takes a village. It's really crazy. Like just the special effects and the lighting, and just, it's really, really incredible. And I feel like even though it does take a village, sometimes the entire village isn't really like commended, or, like, wow, you did a good job.
Yeah, so I'm definitely one of those people that stay for like the entire credits and just read everybody's name off and be like, yeah, see, that person was involved and they should also get some praise.
Yes, because it's awesome, and that's really cool that you do that.
Another movie that I truly love because of the technical aspects of it is a film called Dark City. The Godfather like sparked my passion for film itself, whereas Dark City sparked my passion for like all of the set building and effects, special effects and stuff like that, and even like costume design and things like that.
That's really cool. Dark City, I have to see it.
When people kind of mention films that like kind of I guess like judge reality, kind of like The Matrix came out and everyone's like, are we living in the Matrix? To me, it was Dark City. Dark City came out first, and it's a movie that kind of challenges your sense of reality.
Oh wow, I love that.
So like to me, everyone mentions, The Matrix. I'm like, Dark City did it first, but okay.
You're like, yeah, sure, Matrix, cool, Keanu Reeves, but Dark City, nice.
Yeah, it's definitely an underrated movie. I know a lot of people that have seen it really enjoy it, but I'm any chance I get for people to see it, I'm like, watch Dark City.
Out in the streets, watch Dark City, watch Dark City.
Yeah, and I also read that you have gotten into producing yourself.
A little bit, yeah. So there was this short film that I did in Florida before I moved up to Georgia. And it was a all-female kind of like action film, which is cool. Somebody gave me a script and I helped with the script. And then all of a sudden I was also like helping produce it and figure out a lot of it. I was going to be actually in it. And then I moved to Georgia to do Stargirl. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you stayed on as a producer for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is cool. And I think that I might produce a little bit like down the line. However, when it comes to any type of like producing or anything like that, it's going to go to my nonprofit at this point. So, yeah, it's like training, stunts, and then nonprofit. So, yeah,
I find that kind of producing comes kind of naturally, and it almost kind of inevitably comes to some people that work in the industry.
Yeah,
because you're more in control of your projects,
which is nice, especially because it's like, oh, hey, we really want to do this really cool fight scene with like this and this and this, and then they'll be like, oh, sorry, the producer shut us down. It's like, no, or the director didn't want to do that, or the budget, and so I feel like it also just like kind of depends on who you know and like what you want to do, what your aspirations are, and the higher your aspirations are, like you'll get more into like the creative and like behind the scenes of like producing, directing, or even like fight choreography and stuff like that.
Do you have any one project that you're like most proud of?
I would say Stargirl. Like just because it was my first run of a show. When you're like in stunts, sometimes you like will just be on it for a day. Sometimes you'll be on it for a week or a month, but I was on the show for about 6 months. And so it was definitely the biggest thing I'd done at the time. It's the longest show I've been on, ever since. And it was definitely the most challenging, like by far, very, very challenging. Which is really cool if you're up for the challenge. It was insane some days. And so I'd say I'm really proud of that because I was really able to prove myself as a stunt woman, especially as somebody who was a little bit newer. I did some gags and people would be like, wow, you're really stepping up to the plate. Like you're really like, you're on your A game now, So I'd say I'm pretty proud of that because I was able to prove myself as a younger stunt performer, which is nice and cool. And I think sometimes, like when it comes to why I'm so proud of Stargirl, there were certain days where you're just like, when Walter's directing, it'll be like, okay, we're gonna do this and then that and then that and then that. And it's just absolutely insane. And so it's like there was that one in my reel where I go up and down, like I smash on the ground, and then they're like, okay, so you did that. Okay, now go get kicked off of a table. And then I went and got kicked off of a table. And they're like, okay, now do these fight beats. And then, you go do the fight beats. And then, yeah. And so I think that when you're just going one thing after the other, you can't really think about it. So you just do it, which is kind of fun and nice. But
yeah, there's actually a moment in the cafeteria fight that I think is like one of the coolest things that I've ever seen in any kind of like TV show is the gag where you're kind of against the wall and you do a little like upwards kick onto back onto the ground.
Yes, yeah, the kip up thing. Yeah. Yes. So that's really funny, and I'm really glad that you like it because that one was actually insane to get dialed in. Because with that was a really big teamwork like aspect thing. And I remember we had worked on that gag for probably like at least 8 hours one day. And then we had worked on it more again, just to get like the timing and to get, because what it was going to be was a little bit different. And then it was like, oh wait, I don't think we can actually physically do that. Because I was trying it and it wasn't completely working. It was a little frustrating because as a newer stunt performer, when you're put in a lot of these wires, you can't really articulate like, okay, if my motivation line this way is like tugs at this moment a little bit harder, I'm going to be able to go this way. I'm just like, oh, it must be me. I must just kind of suck. And so I just kept trying to like send it and do it. But then Christina Basket, the Stargirl stunt double, she's been in wires for like 10 years. She almost went to the Olympics as a gymnast, but she's like, I want to have a life, so I won't go into the Olympics, which is amazing. But she went ahead and tried it, and she wasn't able to get what they wanted either. So then they were able to change it, and that's ended up being what it was. So I'm glad that you liked it because it actually took our team a little bit to figure out. So that's awesome that you saw it.
Because because I remember watching it and I was just like, whoa, that was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then the fact that like the camera work is also like in tandem with it. Because like I said, I'm a big fan of camera work. Like any movie that I watch, I'm always critiquing the camera work all the time. So when I see something like that, especially in films that have a lot of like action and like fight choreography, the way the camera work is moving around, it's always a big plus for me. So when I saw that, I was just like, whoa, that was really cool.
Yes. And like Walter Garcia, the stunt coordinator, but director of the episode, he's so good with the camera. He's always filming. He's always working on it. And so it's also like, it's such a craft in itself. And it's something that I am not great at. And so I have a lot of admiration for it and a lot of respect.
I'm almost like interested to like even see what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. And I'm just not sure if I can say, so I'm not going to.
All right. The final question I have for you is, do you have any upcoming projects you're excited for that you can talk about?
Let's see. I actually don't. And so that's the interesting thing. As a stunt person, like you kind of like go like up and down and through like different like projects. And as of right now, with the new year, a lot of things are going to start up. And so I might be hearing from certain stunt coordinators soon, but otherwise, like me and my friends have a lot of projects that were coming up. Then we're just going to film ourselves, which is really exciting, honestly, to like work with your friends, because I do have a friend. His Instagram's like Super Kyle, but Kyle Murillo. He wants to be a director, and he also is a stunt performer. He was in Shang-Chi as a stunt performer, and he's pretty dope. But he wants to do like a little fight thing with me, and we'll do that. And so in the meantime, when I don't have anything coming up, we film things ourselves.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned a little bit about in the beginning, you mentioned a little bit about working on Black Adam. I'm pretty sure that was some exciting stuff.
Yes, definitely. I was able to keep the actress safe for a little bit. Pretty much what that movie was like for me was being there in case she wasn't able to do certain things, and she was. So she pretty much killed it when I was there. Then I had to go ahead and hop over to Stranger Things. And so then for some of the other stuff, she has some other stunt doubles. So yeah. So even though I worked on Black Adam, I'm actually not really pictured in it, because the days that I was there, she did all the things, because Sarah is actually really great. And so yeah, so she was really cool. It was really fun to be on that set. The stunt coordinator and the fight choreographer were incredible to work with. But then I hopped over to Stranger Things. So
yeah, that's cool that you've been able to work on multiple DC projects.
Yes, DC is pretty awesome.
Yeah, being a huge DC fan myself, like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and honestly, being on like those sets, especially like Black Adam, I think is the biggest set that I've been on so far. It's just a little surreal. It's like, oh wow, and just like looking around and just like kind of like soaking it all in is like, wow, this is really cool. Remember when you lived in a cornfield, Shannon? So it's definitely something that every once in a while, like, I just kind of take a breath and just take a beat to just really appreciate the crazy atmospheres I'm just so lucky to come across and be in, so, which is nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you're also very grounded. You stay very grounded. You're very humble. I really like that.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, like, my dream is really the nonprofit stuff. And so it's really easy to be grounded when, I don't know, like, I want to go back to the res and like be with my business partner and like my friends, And so it's also, it motivates the stunt performing aspect. So I don't know. I'd say it's easy. It's harder when you come across a lot of egos, honestly, because Hollywood is kind of full of that. But what can you do?
Yeah, I guess you just got to navigate through that.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, we're talking with these other like actors and writers and stuff like that. They come across that all the time, and they all have their own little ways of kind of navigating through all of that, so they can maintain their own selves and not kind of get sucked into that.
Definitely. And I find that like a lot of like some of the top actors that I've worked with are really chill, and they're really grounded. I think that sometimes people, like, in like the whirlwinds of it, they get lost in the sauce. But then once they've been doing it for a while, they're like, oh, this is just my job now. But it also definitely depends, because I've stunt doubled for people who like won't even look at me. They're just like, my stunt double, I don't care. That's just, I mean, it's also just like kind of how sometimes stunt people are treated. They're definitely looked at as like a human punching bag sometimes, and just like, oh, it's just our stunt performers, man, we don't care. It's like, we're people too.
Yeah. That's why I like to watch a lot of different YouTube videos where they do have stunt performers on, and they get to talk about their stunt work and stuff like that, because I appreciate that a lot more, in my opinion, than some acting, because you're the one out there putting your body on the line. Yeah,
and it's really interesting. I mean, on Stargirl, there was somebody who had actually, I was at like Crafty, like just getting some snacks, as I usually am doing. And there was this person who was like, I don't know if I'd put my body on the line like that and like risk my health just for like a show. And I was like, okay, then you can let us do that. Like, there's a little bit of judgment from some people sometimes, and that's always really interesting. And it's just like, because I mean, sometimes like they see the harder days that we have of like hitting the ground repeatedly, and definitely people are like, why do you do this? And it's like, for a chance at a fight scene. We hit the ground for a chance at a fight scene, at least in my opinion. Because I do want to be more of like the fighter when it comes to like the stunt route. But so yeah, you sacrifice those hard days to do what you love, which sometimes it's like driving. I mean, I want to stunt drive. I haven't been able to do that yet. But so it's all sacrifice. And I need to get into it, honestly, because as a stunt double, like typically I'm more doubling. It's like you need to learn how to drive and do all those things. So that's next on my list.
So those were all the questions that we had. I had a very, very good time talking with you.
Nice. Yes, I had a really good time talking to you. Thank you for reaching out. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for reaching out and all the things.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome.
Keep being awesome.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Sometimes just like when you like dial certain things in, it's like, oh, so like somebody's, well, you know, it's like there's like a gag, and then you find out that so that you don't get hit like this, they need to wire it in differently, you know, just stuff like that.
That should have been something that we also talked about as bloopers.
Yeah. I have some kind of funny bloopers, but I don't know. I'll have to get clearance to give it to you, but I don't know yet.
that would actually be pretty great.
Oh no, oopsies.